So should we talk a
Um,
little bit about the top 50 list or whatever else as far
do,
as what you've seen?
I
What have you?
mean, do I ask who ended up putting it together? Who's the mastermind behind it?
There's
Or
I'm sworn to secrecy. I'm sworn to secrecy. There's only maybe three people that actually have seen the full list, so and that's it.
thank you for tuning in to the IBL Inside Pitch. My name is Mark Pare, alongside Neil Srivastava. And, just first of all, thank you all for joining us on this journey. But if you want to help us out and boost our numbers and get the algorithms up, we love those algorithms. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button wherever you are tuning in, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, or on Apple. We would love to get those, plus your comments. You can email us at any time at iblinsidepitch at gmail.com. That's iblinsidepitch at gmail.com. And, maybe we'll start a mailbag segment at some point if we start getting some emails in. What do you think, Neil?
I definitely can answer some emails, that's for sure. And of course, you've got a lot more time in your hands now that the Gulf Storm have been officially mathematically eliminated from playoff contention. So
Too
yes,
soon. Too soon, Neil. Ow.
I'm
My
sorry. I'm going to get yelled at
goodness.
from Lerman a lot too, I'm sure.
No, but honestly, I'm kind of glad because now, that leaves us a lot more time that we can, start pumping out a little bit more content from now until the beginning of the regular season. Sucks that hockey season is over so early, a little bit earlier than I'm used to, but I'm kind of looking forward to talking about baseball a little bit more. Obviously, the Major League Baseball season is right around the corner. In fact, it starts up this week, minus the games that already happened out, in another country than ours. But
Yep.
the fact of the matter is, baseball is in full swing, and that kind of puts us into a pretty nice segue to our first topic and our big story of the day. It looks like a former IBLer has made an opening day roster in Major League Baseball.
Indeed, he has. Liam Hicks has made the Florida Marlins opening day roster. Of course, the big announcement coming last Thursday, early Friday night, I guess, from the Marlins social media camps and everything else. We caught the tail end of the interview and put her stuff on the league site as well. But yes, congratulations to Liam Hicks, the former Guelph Royal, played for the Guelph Royals in 2018, the first year that Sean Fuller owned the team. He signed. I want to think he signed actually at the deadline. Actually, because back then the deadline was around June 24th, June 25th, everything before Canada Day. So he jumped in just in time of the deadline and had a very positive impact on that team. He was actually listed as an infielder when he played in the intercounty, but then he switched to catching, I guess, at the collegiate level when he was back at college and everything else. So then he's just happened to be at the right time, right place at the right time. Of course, he was a Rule 5 draft pick from Miami. So that means if they didn't want to keep him on the roster, they had to offer him back to the Tigers. And it was just like, okay, he stuck it out. He stuck it out, and congratulations to Liam.
I think you met the Miami Marlins, Neil. I
Miami
know
guys.
they've had so many name changes out there.
I keep calling him Florida. Come on, that's how
Hey,
old
you
I
know
am.
what? They still call it the Sky Dome. Some people still call the former Arizona Coyotes the Phoenix Coyotes. Some names just
Yep,
stick, really.
exactly. They do. They do. My apologies, exactly. Yes, Miami Marlins. Liam Hicks, number 34, apparently. So there we go. He'll be.
That's excellent news.
It is.
Excellent news to
Two
say the
catchers in
least.
there. Two catchers, and the other one's. Oh yeah, he's struggling too at the plate. So he's probably going to see a lot of playing time. Would not be. Probably won't be on the opening day roster, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him. He'll probably get maybe either the Saturday or the Sunday start for sure.
Hey, maybe you throw him into your fantasy lineup once a week.
Who knows? I've already grabbed them on MLB The Show. I grabbed them actually Friday morning before all this happened, so it was just kind of ironic. Got them for 113 subs. If everybody is actually playing that game yet, I don't know. I know Sam from Barry is, and he keeps putting up his roster against mine, and I'm like, okay, one of these days we're gonna have to play. So, and if we got any of our IBL players that actually do jump in, by all means, like, reach out, guys. I'm looking for guys to play against, even just for some content purposes. You probably
Hey,
wipe the
why
floor
not?
with me, but they'll
Hey,
probably wipe the floor with me, but that's okay.
Was it you a couple of years ago that actually went into the show and made up some of the IBL parks?
I did a couple. I didn't do all of them. I did a few. I couldn't get Hastings to work because the dimensions are just too weird for the game. It goes, you want to do what? No, it just doesn't let you do it. But yeah, I did Christie Pitts. I did Labatt Park. I know that Chatham Kent actually last year had their park in the stadium collection that was downloadable and everything else. I think there was a couple other ones. I tried to do Brantford, but I couldn't do it justice. The fences in left field just always throw me off. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
hard to do.
you kind of need the sun delay in there as well.
You can't put that one in there, unfortunately.
Well, speaking of Brantford and, obviously under new ownership and, well, they're not wasting any time whatsoever signing guys.
Nope.
15 by my last count have already signed deals to play for the Brantford Red Sox this season. Tell me a little bit about that, Neil.
Well, Jeff Lounsbury took the reins and he took it seriously. Of course, he was the big reveal, the big secret. I wasn't allowed to let the cat out of the bag as far as when we were at our last broadcast. But it was just it's like okay. Reached out to him and it's like okay, how you hitting the ground running here? And he's like just watch. And then bang 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 bang. It's just like you turn around. There's one or two every time on the transaction wire too, which is great to see. That means the Brantford team is coming together. I would be very quickly under very I don't know unique circumstances as well, just as far as your new ownership and everything else, and really had to put the pedal to the metal to get things done.
Now, it's a lot in quantity, but maybe touch on the quality a little bit of the signings that have occurred in the last couple of weeks with Brantford. Some new faces, but also some very recognizable names on the list too.
Oh, exactly. I think the biggest one that stood out to me yesterday was Luis Shawn. Of course, he was the former Hamilton Cardinal, former Wellington Jackfish. He's definitely got some professional experience. Now he's a middle infielder. That begs the question: is Gus Wilson coming back or not? They haven't seen anything as far as his name in the transactions yet, but definitely the one that stands out. And then, of course, they just signed Jackson Smith today as well, being Tuesday. And they've moved some other guys. Josh Larkin and Gregor Farquharson are both on the inactive list, which we kind of knew that was going to happen. Just 'cause, again, it's just they're from way out in the West Coast and everything else. And if you're scrambling to try and find housing for guys at this time of year, it's very difficult. It is. You're looking for billets. You're looking for a house they can rent, something like that. But it's not a lot of time to do that right now. So who knows? They're on the inactive list, basically to protect their rights in case they get an injury or they just suddenly decide, hey, I want to come back and play and everything else. Jeff can find them housing. Somebody can find them housing in town, and they can sign them pretty easily.
And you can only have 5 on the inactive list, correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful how you manage that too, and then everything else. But if the guys are not signed by the beginning of this year, by the time the first pitch is signed, they come off the inactive list regardless. So as long as they've been signed to a card and put on the inactive list, they're fine. But if they haven't signed, it's free reign. That list gets cleared out at the beginning of the season as soon as the first pitch is thrown. So unless they've been signed to a card for this year, so some guys are going to come off there. Some other guys on the active rosters as well. You're going to see those names disappear as well. But yeah, they've been pretty busy. Like even just I'm looking through the list now, and it's like, okay, Jeremy Vague's back, Aiden Armitage is back. Guys that needed to sign for sure. They got some new guys as well. And they released some guys as well. Nick Brett's back. Ty Smith, who's the owner's son, is a great outfielder. And of course, they signed Noah Roberts, who played for the Guelph Royals a couple of years ago. He's a great catcher. He's going to definitely do some numbers for him as well down in Brantford.
I want to continue on this roster train, and I might have to take the lead on this part because we have the Kitchener Panthers up next on my list of notable signings that have come through the wire as of late. I mean, again, a lot of new faces. Yes, some familiar faces. In fact, Yadian Martinez, who was the ace last year, really the
Yeah.
uh, second place when it comes to strikeouts. He ends up signing a deal to come back to Kitchener, one of 5 imports that will be part of the roster. Yosvani Penalver comes on. Evan Elliott, that's another big name that comes in. That's a former pro there too. Yosuke Fuji. The list goes on, and Kitchener is really starting to ramp things up when it comes to bringing on some new faces to try to turn their fortunes around from a year ago.
Oh, no question they do. And of course, they lose a couple of players. They use. It seems like there's been a lot of turnover this year as far as the younger guys on that roster too. A lot of guys. I guess like I'm thinking Simon Grenberg, some guys like that. They're not expecting to come back because they're hoping to either get drafted or at least get a sniff in the independent league, or maybe they're playing that draft league this year too. So maybe they just committed to that one first rather than going to everything else. We'll see.
Yeah, I can tell you, Simon Grinberg is absolutely lighting it up in the U.S. It
Yeah,
is unbelievable. I mean, not unbelievable as in I'm shocked he's doing so, but unbelievable in the sense that there's just so
his
much of a
numbers have been.
step up that he's had in his game in the last couple of years, and he is just killing it in the U.S.
Yeah. And some guys, they find their stroke down there. They get in the groove, and then it's like, okay, they suddenly have all these eyes on them, so they have these other opportunities too. So the Intercounty, much as mom's home cooking and everything else, is a nice lure to come home for that last summer. But it might be an opportunity to play somewhere in the States, as far as a summer collegiate league as well. So we'll see.
Yeah, another notable signing, Nick Parsons, 9 home runs last year, looking to improve on that number. This time around, he's going to be counted on as a big face of this franchise moving forward, and especially the fact that he's no longer in university, so he gets to be part of the team for the full season. That's going to be another big
That's huge.
part of that offense.
And I think that's always been the problem with Kitchener, Guelph, and everything else. They get so many guys that are still committed to collegiate ball. They don't usually get back till beginning of June, the middle of June, because depending on how far their schools go. So it's like guys like Parsons, guys like Brandon LaRue, those guys come back in the lineup, and then it's like, okay, they're jockeying for positions against guys that have been established here for about a half a month already. So it's hard to get them back in the lineup, and they just they also have to make the adjustment from going from an aluminum baseball bat back to a wood stick, and actually having to feel the baseball again.
Yeah, well, those bats that our friend Ryan Rio was talking about on our last episode, Kitchener's now made the switch.
Yeah, yeah. They've gone to Rebel Bats apparently. So Dave Tabokerhurst is back in the Panther fold apparently.
Apparently. Moving on, just a couple of notable names to touch on here. Toronto Maple Leafs, among some of the other names that they have signed, Wilgenis Alvarado ends up rejoining the fold in 2025.
Interesting to see if he can have a bounce back year from what was last year and just make last year the abnormality for him. But I think his numbers and everything else, his control would seem like it wasn't as sharp as it was the year before. And I think it just was a down year for him. So we'll have to see if he can bounce back to his form from 2023.
Another thing to touch on too, Seth Strong, the move to Lake Erie made officially official. I know we've touched on it in the past, but the reigning league MVP signing not in the IBL at this point.
No, exactly. He is on their inactive list, but again, congratulations to Seth Strong. Congratulations, Panda, on getting your shot. Lake Erie is going to be much better for you. And of course, they also signed Robert Mullen of the
Hmm.
Welland Jackfish, which is kind of like, okay, now Welland's got a little bit of a catching problem.
And again, well, and they're not going to be a walkover with some of the guys that they've brought back and some of the guys that they're bringing into the fold for the first time as well. We know that that franchise, year after year, they seem to find some diamonds in the rough that all of a sudden end up turning into some of the best players in the league.
Oh, exactly. And I think, it's not a bad thing if you're a Welland Jackfish and you see all these guys moving on. That means your franchise, your program is working. It's doing what it's supposed to do. It's highlighting these guys and getting them to that next level, or at least getting them another opportunity. So we'll see how it pans out for a lot of these guys. I hope the heck none of these guys come back. That's not because I don't want them back in the league. It's just that means they're going to bigger and better things.
We'll have to get some of those alums on to our podcast as the days and months go along, just to kind of a catch up, see how everything's going, and
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely be fun.
obviously some of the fans would want to see their faces on our screens. They don't want to look at our mugs all the time.
Oh no, of course not. Definitely don't want to look at rugs all the time. That's for sure.
Why do you think Guelph didn't make the playoffs in the OHL? I think everybody just got sick of seeing me on TV all the time.
I don't think it was that. I think it's just they ran into a very very tough OHL this year. I think a lot of guys, a lot of teams were just they all thought they had legitimate shots to make the playoffs, and they made the moves where Guelph was kind of They tried to make some moves and everything else. It just wasn't going to pan out for them, so they held back and maybe just unloaded a little bit come the signing deadline and everything else. But it was just okay.
Yep,
You have to
just
have a down year once in a while.
yeah, make yourselves the youngest team in the league and draft well. You're going to have a top 4 draft pick. We'll see what that pick is with the draft lottery. I should point out that we're recording this on a Tuesday evening. The draft lottery, as of right now, is tomorrow night. If you're listening to this on Wednesday or thereafter, where the results have been unloaded, again, we're taping this 24 hours before the draft lottery. So that's
Exactly. Yeah.
that's why we're at this point of time. But some exciting times ahead for the Guelph Storm, and obviously the Guelph Royals. Some exciting times for them as well. Not only does Liam Hicks end up making the opening day roster down in Miami, but again, another team that is looking to make that push and return to the IBL final.
They definitely are, and I think they're definitely taking the progression. They had Ryan Eakin on the state of the franchise, which is going to be dropping later this week as far as that stuff goes. He didn't tip his hand too much, but he did let it slip that pretty much the starting rotation is back intact for next year. They're signed. They just haven't they've been delaying their announcements as far as stuff because Kyle Thomas was back. Evan Grills is back. Of course, we already saw Jacob Kush has already been signed and inked, and then it's been announced. But yes, the starting rotation is back, and of course now they got Niall Windler in there in the mix as well. So that's another arm they can pull out of either in that fourth starter role or sometime for some long relief as well.
It's again, it's going to be very exciting to see how the Royals pan out this upcoming season, and how does Ryan Eakin follow me? That's uh, that's that's a tough task.
That is a tough task. It was just how the schedule worked out. It was just like, okay, Ryan had an available Wednesday, and it was like, okay, fine. So I've got 200 videos in the can right now as far as stuff goes, and we just have to. We're slowly putting those together. I wanted to put there's one of them just was a personal. I just really wanted to really take some time with it because, of course, he is one of the elder statesmen of the league, the gentleman from Georgia. So we'll leave it at that. But yes, it's going to come through very shortly this week.
I think I know who you're talking about.
And of course, that's the typical. Yeah, they're all sitting there with their rings and blanking them in our face, like, well, we have rings, you don't. You're not worthy.
My precious.
Yeah, it's like I'm sorry, I couldn't. He was trying to adjust his lights and everything. I was dying laughing by that time.
Neil, just please don't go Gollum on me.
I'm
Please.
not going to. I'm not going to. Don't worry about that. No, it hurts the voice too much, anyways.
My
Probably
one.
scared the dogs.
My only.
Yeah.
I gotta get out of this Lord of the Rings kick. All right, let's
Yeah.
move on before
Let's
I.
move on.
Yeah.
Let's give you some kudos as far as the coverage on the weekend. You guys could with the CIA with the I almost called it the CIAUs. Geez, there we go. That's how that long
Close.
ago I was doing that stuff. Yeah, way back when. You did an awesome job with the women's hockey championships, and a lot of people, a lot of feedback from what I've gotten back in circles. Just say, hey, Mark nailed it all weekend, and of course Dylan Baker was on the other side
Hmm.
doing the French telecast. So parlez-vous français? But yeah, salutations, Dylan, as far as his coverage as well.
Yeah, and I got to hang out with Dylan all weekend. I mean, that was always fun, and I already chatted with him. We're gonna get him on here at some point. At some point in time, we'll
Soon, and of
get
course
Dylan
we're
on.
gonna get the other Mark on too, because Noah Smith's waiting in the wings to just let him tell some of the stories, and of course I think Pat was looking to come on as well from Barry back when too. He's looking to do some stuff too, so we'll have to see. Could be
Yeah,
some
again,
IBL alumni popping back in the wings here on the broadcast very soon.
again, we have nothing but time, Neil. Like
Oh, I
there's
know.
so much time now.
Yeah. So should we talk a
Um,
little bit about the top 50 list or whatever else as far
do,
as what you've seen?
I
What have you?
mean, do I ask who ended up putting it together? Who's the mastermind behind it?
There's
Or
I'm sworn to secrecy. I'm sworn to secrecy. There's only maybe 3 people that actually have seen the full list, so and that's it.
all right, all right. But I'm not gonna reveal. I'm not gonna try to ask who's number one. And
No.
I think the big question that people are wondering about, and I cannot wait for that. So when does number one come down? Is that right
It's
before
going
the
to be coming
season?
down right before the season hits. I think we got like 5 or 6 days just before the season hits. If we figured everything out, I think it's like right around. I think it's going to be like 5 days before the season hits. and you're going to see the first edition of the power rankings in that time frame too. And I think I have to do some homework. We got to come up with some report cards on these off-season transactions for each team, and we'll put that together for a podcast or something. And since we have time,
Yeah,
we have time.
absolutely. Time. Who knew you can have so much time? So obviously, also with that, with the 50 list going down to number one right before the season, there's still a few days people can kind of digest what the top 50 list looks like
Yep.
from then until the beginning of the season, and maybe some bulletin board material. Hey, why am I only
Uh,
at 45 or 30? I should be higher on the list. What are you
well,
doing,
I got a
anonymous
text.
person?
I got a couple of text messages last week from some players, and I was just like, oh man, this is going to be fun when they actually see where they are.
People have actually been asking you, "Hey, where am I on this list?"
I'm like, I'm not allowed to say. I'm not saying a word. There's one of those things that's like, I'm putting this stuff together. I'm just going to keep it to myself. The people that needed to know have been told, and that's it. And there was only one feedback that came from the league level. And that was it, and
Oh,
that change
really?
was made. Only
Okay.
one. So the rest was is left in the capable hands of the people that decided this thing. So there you
So
go.
what you're saying is the people that decided all of this pretty much nailed it.
I don't know. They had some parameters as far as things. The guys had to be signed in the league and actually on the active roster. So a guy like Robert Mullen, a guy like Seth Strong, and everything else isn't on the list because they're signed somewhere else.
Yeah, it makes total sense. I enjoy this. The parameters are what they are, and again, looking very much forward to what the top 50 list shakes out to be. Yeah, cannot wait for that number one to come down. I'm very curious to see who ends up being number one on the list as we count down to opening day, Neil. Again, it's getting ever so closer.
It is close. We're in the 40-day mark roughly now. I think we're at 47 if it's Tuesday. Yeah, actually 47 or 48. I can't remember. My calendar's not up on the wall here. It's down at the office, but it's not up on the wall up here.
One other thing I do want to touch on, I'd be remiss if I don't know, I can't remember if we did touch on this on the last episode, but London's mascot has a name.
Yes, it does. Its name is Forest. Which I think that was my favorite originally. Anyways, if we go back to the last podcast, I think that's what I call it. So yeah, I kind of like Forest.
I kind of like it too, and take it for what it's worth. I'm just throwing it out there as a promo
Yep.
idea. You have him run the outfield, kind of a race, and you call it Run Forest Run.
I think we better put some T-shirts and stuff on together that one so we can get it off to the ball flowers sooner than possible. Again, I think they'll get embracing that thing. But yeah, definitely could see that happen.
London Majors brass, the check, you can send it in the mail. I'll send you the
Yep.
address.
Yep.
I'm just full of ideas. What can I say?
There you go.
Speaking of ideas, promo nights are starting to roll out with the IBL. Certain teams have come out with it. Some teams are still kind of finalizing their lists on what their promo nights are going to look like. But I'm starting to enjoy some of these nights that are coming up. In particular, I want to highlight a couple of them so far. Welland and Hamilton both having wrestling nights. Hamilton is going to be
Yep.
July 4th in particular. Welland also sending a nod to the Stompers. They're going to have their own Stompers night a night later on July 5th. And again, it's always a great night when you're working with a theme. I know we had our country theme in Guelph last
Yep.
season. I got a brand new cowboy hat out of it. I know some teams, have their alternate jerseys that they come out with throughout the season too, and those are some staples to really really keep an eye out for as the season rolls along.
Oh, no question is, of course, the Jackfish, of course. You can go to a Jackfish game, and depending on what promo nights and everything, you can tell how popular the promo is, depending on how the line in the parking lot is. Well, how it is that starting at 5 o'clock at night. They don't. The first pitch is until 7:25, and they're already lined up like 30 deep in the line here, and they're all the way out to the parking lot. So it's great to see around the league too.
Are you the type to wait out in one of those lines, Neil, in particular, if it's something you really, really want, or you
Well,
just say,
we've
"Hey,
we've
I'll
done
buy
it
it on
with
eBay"?
we've done it for Blue Jay bobbleheads, but we didn't do any last year, and I don't think we didn't do any games last year. But the year before that, we went to I think we went to 4 or 5 different Blue Jay games just for bobbleheads. Jenny and I went to Star Wars night. We went to Canada Day for the Vladimir Guerrero bobblehead, which is somewhere downstairs, but it's a massive box.
Yep, I have
I
that
think
one too,
it's
actually.
it's the Vlad and his dad bobblehead, and it's just like we got that one, and it's like okay,
Oh, I actually don't
yeah,
have that one. I have the City Connect Vladdy bobblehead
from last
sitting
year.
downstairs somewhere.
Nice. Yeah, we do collect those ones. And of course, I got to go to Welland. I got to get a Jacques. I got to get a Rocco, and I've got to somehow get a Davy Mendez. But I don't know. I'm gonna have to, get a very short line to that one. Maybe have to kill still and sacrifice my way to get to that one. But that's beside the point.
I mean, you're friends with the Welland Jackfish. I mean, I'm sure they can hook you up.
I don't want to. I don't want to get the. I don't want to go to the back door. I legitimately have to go buy a ticket, sit in line, do whatever. I'll do it properly. I don't want to
All
be.
right.
He just got one because he knows everybody.
Well, at the very least, if we can start collecting some of these collectibles from different teams, we'll have a little bit more of we'll have a little bit more of a background in behind us, just kind of displaying
Yep.
some of this stuff, and we can start.
Well,
I can
exactly.
start
Like,
hanging jerseys
as you
behind
see the
me.
wall, guys, there's only a couple of hats from a couple of teams here. So, if they want to hook us up with some hats or something, some Jackfish merchandise, the Believe sign, unfortunately, took a tumble earlier, so I got to put that on the wall again, but it's still here. It's right there, and it's upside down. Don't want to get yelled at, but yeah,
Oh,
it's there.
do you believe?
Yep,
Uh,
it's there. It's going to be
yep.
coming part of the wall and everything else, so why not? But yeah, if they want to send us some stuff, hey, we got room. I'm still waiting for a baseball card. I don't know how many different teams I got to work for before I finally get my own baseball card. But we're gonna have to wait for that one, I guess.
It's coming somewhere down the pipe. Someone's listening to this right now and probably saying to themselves, "He's absolutely right. Where's the Neil card?"
Eh, who knows?
It's
Who
okay.
knows?
I will collect it and I will be the first in line asking for a signature.
All right, I make sure I save just for you.
Perfect. Well, I think that kind of wraps things up. But before we go, as we like to always do here on the show, your airing of the list, Neil. Do you have anything else that you'd like to air out while we have you here?
I think we're covered for right now, but I think we're like, of course, I guess we got to go with our opening day picks as far as who you taking in Major League Baseball to do things this year.
Ooh, putting me on the spot there, Neil.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, the Dodgers are a lot better than they were last year, in my opinion.
yeah.
They've got the same amount of pieces that they had, some key pieces that they had from last season's championship run, and obviously there's a best friend of a Kitchener Panther also playing for that team too. So I don't know, if maybe that's kind of close to home. I would probably, maybe it's the easy pick, but I think the Dodgers have a two-peat in them.
But two P, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. It's with all that, with all their signings, all the money they've been throwing around for all these bonuses and everything else. It's kind of like it's not a foregone conclusion, but I kind of want to see how they mess this up somehow. I don't know if it's going to be injuries or what, but something just has to go wrong. So the teams will never do this again. But it's you got to play devil's advocate. You got to cheer for somebody else, and it's just I don't know. I thought the Yankees were going to do something until Derek Cole went down and everybody's other and Stanton was down. It's just like okay, it's not going to be the Yankees this year. It's going to be somebody else, and it's just like I don't know who it's going to be though. It's very hard. I think you're going to see. I think Skynes will get the Cy Young in the National League. I don't know who's going to get the American League. Like Scooball, if he stays healthy, could probably do it again. But again, that's a big if.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And yeah, Scooble, I'm pretty sure I put money on that guy. I don't know how many times and made a boatload of cash over last
Yeah.
season. So yeah, again, we'll see how everything rolls out with the Major League Baseball season, and we'll see how everything rolls out in 40 odd something days from now when the IBL season kicks off. But we'll be back a lot more times from now until then because
We will
well,
be.
we got nothing better to do.
We got nothing better to do. I can only play an MLB show for so long. So come on, got to do something better.
Again, if you want us to, talk about what you want us to talk about, send us an email, iblinsidepitch@gmail.com. Maybe the next episode we open up a mailbag or two and see what you think about uh, your expectations going into the IBL season, maybe some of your, expectations with the signings that were made, some of your favorite theme nights to come, whatever you want to talk about or whatever you want us to talk about. Again, send us an email, iblinsidepitch@gmail.com. Hit us with a like or a subscribe wherever you are watching or listening to this. And thank you for joining us on the latest episode of the IBL Inside Pitch. I'm Mark, he's Neil. We'll see you next time, and maybe we'll have a guest with us next time. We'll see.
Maybe we'll
We'll
see.
see. See you later, folks.